So you're probably gearing up for this election.
Right.
Definitely. Well, how about this for a thought?
Okay.
Could Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
the guy who chats with like everyone from Elon Musk to like mushroom enthusiasts, actually become a surprise kingmaker in this election?
It's not as outlandish as it might seem.
Really?
Yeah, we've been looking at this piece from the Daily Beast.
Okay.
And it really highlights how figures operating outside of traditional media, like Rogan, can end up wielding this surprising amount of influence,
Okay.
particularly in a close election.
Interesting. So let's unpack this a little bit.
Yeah.
Rogan has a massive following,
He does.
like 14.5 million on Spotify alone.
Huge.
But he's not exactly predictable.
Right.
Like, he backed Bernie Sanders in 2020.
Yeah.
And now there are all these rumors swirling about Kamala Harris potentially going on his show.
Yeah, that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, how so?
Well, Harris hasn't had the easiest time connecting with young male voters.
I could see that.
And they make up a pretty sizable chunk of Rogan's audience.
Okay.
Oh. So this potential move to go on his show really speaks to a larger strategy of reaching beyond her usual base.
It's like she's playing chess, not checkers.
Exactly.
Going straight to where these voters are, rather than just waiting for them to come to her.
And I think it's smart because that demographic
Yeah.
often finds traditional political messaging, well, kind of inauthentic.
Yeah.
You know?
I know.
And Rogan, with his unfiltered conversational style,
Right.
just might resonate with them in a way that other campaigns haven't been able to.
So it's not even necessarily about like a direct endorsement from Rogan, is it?
Right.
It's more about the exposure to his audience.
Definitely.
The chance for Harris to make her case to a group that might not be hearing it other way.
Exactly. It's about getting into that echo chamber.
Okay.
Even if it means taking a bit of a risk.
Speaking of risks, let's talk about Rogan's past comments for a second. This article quotes him calling Harris the worst. And even making light of whether she takes anti-anxiety medication.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty harsh, even for Rogan.
Yeah, those comments are definitely provocative.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell if he's trying to be funny or if it's
Right.
a more pointed criticism.
Yeah.
Or if it reveals something a little deeper, you know.
And it gets even weirder.
Okay.
Because while he's taking these shots at Harris, he's been much harsher towards Trump.
Oh, really?
He's called him an existential threat to democracy.
Wow.
He even refused to have him on the show.
And yet he later praises Trump's reaction to almost being assassinated.
What?
Yeah, it's like,
Really?
yeah, these totally contradictory viewpoints.
I don't get it.
It's part of what makes Rogan such a fascinating and unpredictable figure.
He really keeps everyone guessing.
Totally.
He even said he admired Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
No way.
before Kennedy dropped out of the race.
Okay.
He said Kennedy was the only candidate who made sense to him. That's got to tell you something, right?
Yeah, I guess it kind of shows he likes the candidates who shake things up a bit.
Yeah.
The ones who don't really fit in the usual boxes, you know.
Which, in a way, describes both Trump and RFK Jr.
Totally.
Two very different guys.
Right.
But both total disruptors.
Definitely.
So let's say Harris actually goes on Rogan's show.
Okay.
What do you think the potential benefits would be?
Well, even without Rogan endorsing her,
Right.
because being on the show is huge.
Yeah.
You've got millions of people listening. A lot of them probably aren't hearing her message anywhere else.
Right.
They're going to be exposed to her and what she stands for.
Okay.
The article even mentioned this one political strategist
Yeah.
who said that even small changes in how this demographic sees her,
Okay.
especially young men,
Right.
could actually decide the election if it's close.
That makes a lot of sense. But the
Yeah.
article also mentioned some people weren't so sure. Yeah. They were skeptical about how many of Rogan's listeners are actually undecided this late in the game.
Yeah, it's true.
It's definitely not a guaranteed win for her.
No, not at all.
And then there's like the whole Rogan factor on top of it.
Right, his style.
Yeah, these interviews are super long, totally unscripted,
Totally.
and they're known for going on these crazy tangents.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a tightrope walk for a politician.
Totally.
One wrong step,
Yeah.
one awkward phrase,
Right.
and it's a meme
Oh, yeah.
before you know it.
Instantly.
Yeah, and then we've all seen how these online things can affect people.
Totally.
Especially younger voters who are getting most of their news from social media.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is why I think that October surprise idea is interesting.
Tell me more.
Like, imagine if Rogan interviews Harris
Oh,
or even Trump, like a week before the election.
Oh, wow. Talk about a game changer.
It could either totally energize their supporters
Right.
or it could completely backfire. Exactly. It's a huge gamble.
They would have to prepare like crazy.
Yeah, they'd have to be ready for anything.
For sure.
Able to think on their feet.
Totally.
Because he's so unpredictable.
It's true.
No teleprompters or anything.
Right.
No pre-approved questions.
And there's Rogan being Rogan.
Which, honestly, is what makes the show so interesting.
Totally.
You really never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. It's kind of refreshing in a way.
Totally.
It's so different from the usual, like, sound bites and rehearsed stuff you usually hear during an election.
But that does mean there's more risk, too, right?
Oh, totally.
Especially for those politicians who are used to being in control.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think how much could depend on, like,
I know.
just one comment or one little moment.
It's true.
This whole thing just shows how much things are changing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just about the news networks and the rallies anymore. It's like podcasters, comedians.
People on social media.
It's wild.
Those are the ones who have the power now.
I know. It's really interesting to see.
Yeah, it really is.
It's like the rise of the unconventional influencer.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you think
about
how much people crave authenticity.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Especially when everything feels so fake and staged.
Even if that authenticity comes with a few conspiracy theories thrown in.
Exactly.
Because let's be real, Rogan definitely goes there sometimes.
He does.
It's weird though, right?
What is?
We like people who are like unguarded and unscripted. Even if we don't agree with everything they say, it's like we want to see the real person.
Definitely.
Not just like some fake persona.
I think you're right.
Which brings us back to Joe Rogan.
There he is.
The king of unpredictable conversations.
Totally.
Who even knows what he'll do next?
I know.
But one thing's for sure.
What's that?
We'll all be watching to see what happens, especially as the election gets closer.
Definitely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we have a question for you.
Okay, shoot.
Do you think an appearance on Rogan's show, with all the good and bad that comes with it, could actually change how you vote?
Interesting.
It's something to think about.
Definitely.
Especially with all the craziness of this election.
For sure.
Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive.
It was great chatting with you.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we'll leave you with that thought.
Sounds good.
This is the Deep Dive signing off.